Welcome. Thank you for coming to our Sharing Our Stories Leadership Luncheon at noon. And we are able to do this because of our sponsors. We're very appreciative of our sponsors who have helped us today. Our sponsors are Care Solutions, Dreyfus and Tucker, Weinberg Associates, and the Atlanta Orthodontic Specialists. So I'm Jan Paul, and I'm Executive Director of Leadership Sandy Springs. And I want to thank you for coming to our March edition of Sharing Our Stories. And this month we celebrate Women's History Month. And I'm not ashamed to borrow something that I've seen. Instead of calling it Women's History Month, we are going to call it Women's Herstory Month, focusing on the women, the H-E-R-S-T-O-R-Y month. So as we talk about women, I want to just take one moment to remember our Asian American sisters that were killed last week. I think we all know that it's a tragedy that their stories will not be told. They will not have the opportunity to tell their stories anymore. So as we remember our Asian American sisters, let's look forward to what these three incredible women are doing, not only in their own lives, but how they are changing the lives of so many young women, girls, men, for future generations. So with that, I would like to introduce you to our panel. First of all, I'd like you to meet Cindy Abel. She is co-founder and CEO of Live to Be Girl, a positive and supportive social media app for school-age girls. Live to Be Girl was created in response to the harmful behavior of mental health issues prevalent in children as a result of their use of social media. After graduating with an MIS degree from the University of Dayton, Cindy worked with Anderson Consulting, which is now known as Accenture, for 8 years. She then co-founded Able Solutions with her husband, a consulting firm. In 2015, Able Solutions was acquired by Applied Technical Services, a national company with headquarters here in Atlanta. Cindy is passionate about serving the community and believes it's our responsibility as corporate citizens to give back. In 2016, she was asked to be interim CEO of Hands On Atlanta, where she served in many volunteer capacities, including a member of the board of directors for 7 years and a VP of the board for 2 years, and a member of the advisory council. Most recently, Cindy has served as co-chair for Care Women's Network and co-chair of the Atlanta Jewish Film Festival's Development Committee. Cindy was in the class, the Leadership Sandy Springs class of 2019, and currently serves on our board of directors and for the Voices of Georgia's Children. I'd like you to meet Betty Klein. She is the CEO of Gyna Concepts, which is a female-led company that developed an in-home pap smear device, where she's responsible for clinical trials, FDA approvals, and fundraising. Betty is also co-owner and CFO of Medical Associates Hair Transplants, with locations in Atlanta, Chattanooga, Nashville, and Huntsville. And she's responsible for physicians and the staff certification. Early in her career, Betty was a part of and a founder of KinderCare Learning Centers and served as regional director responsible for site selection, building, construction, financing, and staff selection. Betty is active in many community affairs, including being a recipient of the WSB Community Service Award, American Institute for Volunteerism, Jefferson Award, and the Sandy Springs Martin Luther King Humanitarian Award, and the Fulton County Foster Parent Award of the Year. Betty also founded Childkind, an agency focused on serving HIV and medically fragile children. Betty and her husband Phil have been foster parents since 1992 and have fostered 68 medically fragile children and adopting 4 of them. She and Phil have 12 children, 5 biological, 4 adopted, and 3 in guardianship. Betty is a member of the class of 2018 and currently serves our homeless and Hispanic communities at the Solidarity Pantry in Sandy Springs. And I'd like you also to meet Justine Boyd. Justine has a long record of service and leadership and advocacy. She is currently the Regional Development Director for the Atlanta region of the UNCF, United Negro College Fund, where she oversees the development initiatives in 5 states and supports 20 historically Black colleges and universities. Also, Justine served as Chief Executive Officer of the YWCA of Greater Atlanta, and has more than 15 years of executive leadership experience in nonprofit management, government administration, and external affairs. Under her leadership, the YWCA operated a women's transition shelter, early learning academy facility, 10 after-school programs, including teen girls in technology, wellness, racial justice, and education. Justine serves as Vice Chair of the Atlanta Housing Authority and is past Chair of the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections, and past President of the Fulton County League of Women Voters and the Georgia Voting Commission, along with many other statewide boards. Justine has received numerous leadership and business awards, including the Atlanta Dreams Inspiring Woman, Business to Business Woman of Excellence, Atlanta Magazine's Woman of the Year, along with awards from Georgia Trend, Atlanta Tribune Magazine, and the Atlanta Business League. Justine is a graduate of our LSS class of 1998. Also, she's a graduate of Leadership Georgia, the Leadership Atlanta, and the Regional Leadership Institute. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for coming. We are glad to have such a distinguished panel. And thank you for all that you've done in the community. And Cindy, I am going to turn it over to you so we can get rolling.
Thanks, Jan, for all the great introductions. We're so happy to be part of this today. So I've been asked to moderate, the 3 of us. So I'm going to be asking the questions today. And I'd like to start with a question that is this: is there something or someone that has had a significant influence on you and the decisions that you've made? And Justine, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Cindy and Betty. It is such an honor to serve on this panel with you. Jan, thank you for your leadership with Leadership Sandy Springs, and thanks also to Pam Rosenthal, who I think may have been the person who suggested that I serve on the panel today. It's certainly an honor to be here. My father, I think everybody who knows me know that my father has had the greatest impact on my life for a myriad of reasons. My mother passed when I was 18. Now, my father could have easily gotten married again because that was 30 years ago, but he totally dedicated his life to making sure that his girls and my brother received an education and that we felt strong and good. And he created the confidence for us. And he is the voice that lives in the back of my head. He has given me a lot of strength. My parents gave me roots and wings. They taught me the foundation of life, what is important, my faith, my friends, family, community. And so I have those roots coming out of a very small town, but they also gave me the wings and they told me that I could be anything that I wanted to be. And my dad has continued through all of those years to make sure constantly he is telling me, you're going to be fine. If you need anything, I'm here for you. He just gave me everything that I needed in terms of being a confident woman who believed that I could do anything that I wanted to do. And he always had my back. He is 93 years old. He is solid as a rock. He's as good as they come. And I go home to my little hometown once every month to see him and to just soak up all of his wisdom. So my dad, without question, has been the one person who has influenced me the most in life.
Thanks, Justine. And Betty?
Okay. I don't think there's one particular person. I was blessed to grow up in a really large, loving family and very strong women. I have never to this day, my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, who was a missionary all of her life, never married. But boy, did she have the strength and the power and the wisdom to relate to her nieces and nephews. And the same thing Justin said, I was always told that I could do anything I chose to do as long as I would put the hard work in, that it wouldn't come to me, that I had to be aware of my opportunities. I had to take them when they came. I had to be afraid not to do anything. Just go out there and try. And my grandmother would say, and always pray for wisdom. And so that's kind of the motto I've lived by.
Thank you, Betty. It's wonderful. When I was thinking about this question, I had a very large family as well. And my father was also, Justine, to your point, a very significant influence in my life. But the decisions I made, during my years working as a working woman really centered around my children. And I have 3 children. And so a lot of my career decisions were based on what I thought would be best for them, as well as best for me. Something that, one of our major decisions in one of my decisions in leaving Anderson Consulting, as I was pregnant with my first child, we worked so many hours during the week at that consulting firm. And when I was going to stay on there, when Kevin and I decided to start our own technology company here in Atlanta, we wanted to do that because we wanted work-family balance for us and for anybody that we employed. And so I made the decision to leave a really nice salary and full benefits to just jump in with 2 feet with my husband and start that firm, really based on the fact that I just wanted to make sure I was present for my kids. So the next question I have for you, did you ever see yourself doing what you're doing now? Justine?
I absolutely did not. Growing up in a small town, and let me set the stage, 8,000 people, that's the population of Lincolnton, my hometown. Non-profit organizations simply did not exist. If there was a need in the community, my mother, who was an educator, teacher, and my father, who was the chairman of the deacon board, between the school and the church, they took care of those needs. So nonprofit didn't even exist. And even when I went to the University of Georgia at 18, I didn't know a lot about nonprofits. But what I did know is that my life calling would have something to do with helping other people, building other people, and making life better for other people, because that's really what I'd seen my parents do. So I absolutely did not know anything about nonprofits. I knew a little bit about the United Negro College Fund, but more than anything, I knew that I wanted to live a life that would impact other people. So my career has been interesting. I think Cindy said the other day, it has been eclectic. Nobody could have ever mapped it out for me. My ex-husband was a banker, and I would say to him, you had the perfect career. Every job that you took led you to the next position. It was mapped out perfectly on paper, and he achieved exactly what he wanted to achieve. He wanted to be a president of a bank, and he did all of those. So I was admiring that. And he said to me, but your life has been so much more fun, so much more interesting. I love that you've taken risks and you have just created opportunities that no one knew existed. So he helped me to see that not having this perfect plan was really okay. And so I have had this very creative, fun, exciting life and career.
Thank you, Justine. And Betty?
After listening to her, repeat the question.
Did you ever see yourself doing what you're doing now?
I did. Yeah. I think as a young person and having multiple jobs until you finally get to a stable, good job, I knew what I didn't want. And those were the jobs I didn't want. So yeah, I said one day I'd like to be able to be the president of a company, run the company, put it in a good direction, see it through, complete fruition of that company, and be able to be a part of putting that together and learning from all the people that come to the puzzle that make it a complete puzzle. So yeah, I mean, that was the goal from the time I was probably 20 or 21. It didn't happen overnight. It was a long working process. I did a lot of jobs I didn't love. I did a lot of jobs I really loved. And sometimes it's hard to take that step and not be afraid to move to another level, do something very different out of my comfort zone. But I did, and I had a lot of support to do it. Had a lot of failures in the meantime, but I saw the end, and that's where I am today. It's my dream job. We're coming to fruition. That really is the end of the program for me at that point. I'd like to retire. I'd like to just do what I like to do, maybe just hang out with a bunch of kids.
Thanks, Betty.
I want to be Betty when I grow up.
Yeah, exactly. So, my response to this is no, I absolutely did not see myself going where I ended up. When I went to college, I was an undeclared business major. My dad, graduated from the Naval Academy, and he was a professional that, followed Sears Roebuck through his entire career. So he just kept excelling and moving up the ladder. And I always admired my dad. And so I thought, well, why not business? It seems interesting, seems like something I'd like to do. And my first year at school, I ended up taking a computer science course and programming. And I was shocked at how much I enjoyed it. And, then just moved into a brand new major at the university called Management Information Systems. And when I left, school, my dream job really did happen. I was hired into Anderson Consulting, and it's like working 20 years and, double time because you just travel and work so much. So as a young person, it was a very exciting time. And I learned a lot in the short time I was there. So I'm very thankful that I've ended up in technology. It's something I love to do. I love being the person that is the stopgap between somebody that's very technical and somebody on the business end that understands the needs of somebody that needs something from a business side, so that you can, you get to work with a lot of people when you're a consultant in that arena. So, and I certainly didn't see myself becoming part of a startup community. So that's been a very new and exciting venture for me. So are there any words of wisdom that you'd want to share, gained from your own experience? Justine?
Yeah, well, I think that I have learned that being prepared, working hard and being prepared. And I learned that, growing up early in Lincolnton with my family. I don't think there's anything that can compete with a hardworking person. I may not be the smartest person in the room or the most educated, but it's very hard to outwork me. And I have found that if you put in the work, you always get a very positive and productive outcome. And then being prepared, I have found that opportunities come all the time. But if you're not prepared to take those opportunities, they just keep passing you by. But when you are prepared and you have gotten the education that you need and you have sharpened your skills and the tools that you need, I have found that the universe will rise up to meet you and you will be able to move forward with those opportunities. So I think that working hard, being prepared, and staying focused are very, very important to being successful.
Betty?
For me, it was always not to be afraid to go to school. Don't be afraid to take a class. Don't overdo yourself. Just be patient and know that things, as Justine said, it will come to you. Just be there and be ready to grab it. Be prepared for it. Believe in yourself. Just know that you really can do whatever it is you want to do.
Thank you. I would have to say a mix of what both of you have said. For me personally, I also, like Justine, believe that work ethic and working hard are one of the qualities I look for when I'm interviewing somebody for a job or a position. One of my kids' coaches used to have this saying that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So like Justine said, if I might not be the smartest person in the room and in situations, but I certainly do work hard. If I don't know something, I work hard to surround myself with people that do know that the best and try to learn the pieces that I can. And then I just try to excel what I'm best at. So I think, and then to Betty's point, when you're looking at an opportunity, not being afraid to jump in and act is very, very important, because things can pass you by if you think too much about it, and it's something that's ultimately going to be great to help your career. It's good to just act on your instinct and your gut. If your gut's saying do it, you should do it.
Right.
What advice would you give your younger self now, Justine?
I would say to my younger Justine self, live more, laugh more, love more, worry less, stress less. I think that many women worry way too much about, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I doing enough? And in most instances, I found that I was doing too much. And I would spend time stressing about things that, as I look back, really were not important at all. So learning to major, I would major in the minors, if you would, but worrying about, what the world was going to say when I have learned now, and I would say to my younger self, don't stress, love, live in the moment, enjoy. You can be everything that you want to be. As Betty said, don't be afraid. Just go out there and live life. I would also say to myself that my parents were much smarter than I thought they were, that if I had lived by all of the rules that and guidelines and advice that they had given me, I would have not made some of the mistakes. But mistakes work out just fine. But I would just say to myself, live more, love more, laugh more, stress less, worry less.
How about you, Betty?
Exactly. I mean, Justine and I are just in the same path this morning. The only thing I think, the thing that I learned early, too late, but early on, at least I corrected myself along the way. I wanted a balanced life, and I did not always balance my life because work would become so important and the priorities were out of balance. So I learned many years ago, get your priorities in line. Balance your life because your life is important. Not only can you not do your work and fulfill your obligations if you aren't balanced inside with your family, your personal feelings, your church life or your Christian life or whatever you have. You need something other than that workforce that keeps you going and focused. So for me, I don't worry a great deal. If I don't have a solution and I don't know how to fix it, I don't worry about it because it's not going to do me a bit of good. I just don't worry. I find somebody else and give it to them and let them worry about it. And then I come back and I refocus and see, how might I have addressed that a little better? What should I have done that I didn't do? But more importantly, I just try to live a balanced life. I try to leave everything into some category that I feel comfortable when I come home at night and I can sleep at night, that I did my best job and that I've served my community and I've loved my family. And I think that's really important for women because we don't do just one thing. We have a multitude of tasks on our plate every single day.
Yeah, I totally agree with the both of you on everything. I think for me, it's perfectionism was a big downfall to my personality, trying to be perfect in everything because of, like Justine was saying before, and Betty to some extent, that just feeling like you had to be the best and to prove something to other people. And being in the consulting firm at the young age that I was in, I worked in an environment where that was, sort of the culture of the organization is you had to be perfect. So I would say that it's okay to fail, that failures make you learn. And as long as you're learning from your failures and doing something different next time, failing fast and moving on is a great thing. And, get rid of the anxiety and the worry, because the anxiety and the worry prevent you from taking action now. So, to some extent, I think we're all saying very similar things. So what is the single most critical personal code of conduct that has helped you be successful? Justine?
I think practicing good karma. I think putting out the very best and giving people the very best that you have. It going back to my parents really were really smart, and it basically is biblical. Just treat people the way that you want to be treated. And I have found that what you put out comes back to you. So I would just say making sure that on a daily basis, I am practicing good karma, checking how I treat people, being very deliberate about being good to people. Even during this time, I realized there were a lot of people that were having lots of anxiety about COVID. And I just made a list of people that I was going to check on a daily basis, especially older people. I love older people because of all of the wisdom. And so all of their wisdom that I just soak up. So I would just make a list and just reach out to them. And I send handwritten notes and just try to do good and practice good karma, because I really believe that what you put out is going to come back to you.
How about you, Betty?
It's probably the one thing for
Uh-oh. We lost her. I'll go ahead and answer that for myself. But, from a business perspective, I see Betty's back now. But from a business perspective, when my husband and I co-founded Able Solutions, one of the things that we really felt strongly about is, like Justine is saying, you treat everybody, your customer, your vendor, all of your stakeholders in your life deserve, your honesty, your integrity, and your kindness, because a lot of times you in business, to get one more step ahead, you see a lot of situations where a vendor isn't treated very nice, and that's not good for business. But one of the top things that I think is giving back to your community. I think as corporate citizens, we all need to be giving back in our daily lives, whether that be serving and volunteering in the community or monetarily in some way, shape, or form through your business or your personal life. I think giving back to the community and giving back to the people and the stakeholders in your life and your family, and being kind and doing all the right things like that are never ever going to steer you wrong. Betty, back.
okay. So basically, I was just saying the honesty part, but kindness goes a long way. And I have learned that in working at KinderCare, I had over 14,000 women that worked for me. That's a feat within itself.
Mhm.
But the one thing we all had in common, as long as you were direct and honest and treated them fairly, you were kind to them and understood every day is a different day. And some days they don't have good days. And I've kind of kept that motto all the way through every business I've ever been in. I want to be treated the way I treat. And I treat, as I said earlier, I treat the janitor the same as I do a CEO. There's no difference. Just be kind, be good, be honest. Let people know how you feel and where you stand.
Thank you, Betty. So our next question, in this era of Me Too, how do we prepare our daughters, nieces, mentees for the workplace? Justine?
I think we start with self-awareness, helping them to be aware of all of the issues and all of the things that can happen in the workplace. I think that we are helping our young girls have a voice and believe that their voice counts. I think that's what the Me Too movement did. It really gave voice to people who felt like they had never had a voice in the past. So I'm very appreciative to that. And I think we have to teach our young girls to speak up. We have to tell them it's okay. You don't have to be silent, because for many decades that's what we've said. You don't speak up, you don't tell that these type things are happening. But I think the movement has allowed us, it has given a voice. And I think that we just need to continue to build confidence in our young girls, to tell them that their voice matters, they matter, their opinions matter, their feelings matter, their bodies belong to them, and they have say so over all of that. And I think that we just have to do it at an early age, very early, just more helping them to believe in their own voice.
Go ahead, Betty.
Okay, about the same thing. I just think open communication is so important, particularly in your family. Start young with your children. Let them understand their body is their body. It is their temple. No one has a right to say, do, touch. Those are things are just daily conversations, and you build your kids up. You let them know how important they are, how that, you love them. No one else should ever abuse them. You just have to have conversation with your kids. Then you have to arm them with information so that when they do step out and they do speak out, they know what to say, how to say it, and when to say it.
Thank you. I completely concur with the both of you on your answers on that. And I guess I would add that it's important that we teach young women today in this Me Too era. I have found that there is more and more women lifting up other women and supporting each other. So, years ago, when I started my career, I didn't see as much of that. I saw, a lot of us trying to succeed in our silos instead of recognizing our opportunities to help one another, lift up one another, support one another. And, I think that that's really, really important. I think we're seeing a lot of that today. I know myself, I get a lot of support from women in my community right now, and I need it. And I hope that I can give that back to other women in the same way. I also think confidence is huge because I think females in general lack the amount of confidence that they need when they're starting out in their careers. And I just think, making sure that they understand and you lift them up and, mentor them in a way that's going to help them be confident in what they're doing. I think that's great. We do have a question to the panelists that's from our audience today. And that is, could we share more about the impact our businesses have on women and girls? And Justine, I'll let you go ahead with that.
Sure. I at UNCF, that is the United Negro College Fund. We have been in existence for 36 years, and our mission is to support 37 historically Black colleges and universities, and to provide scholarships for minority, underprivileged children or students, if you will. And we actually give away more than $100 million in scholarships each year. But a lot of our students are girls. Now, we don't focus just on the girls, but there's a lot of females that are being impacted by those numbers. As a matter of fact, I was working on an event in Columbus, and all the students that we had given a testimony, they were all girls. Of the 10, it was just harder to find boys. So there's a lot of young girls in college now. And while we don't focus on them, they are the beneficiary of the work that we're doing. And I can't think of anything more important than helping young girls and young boys get an education. But in my past life as the CEO of the YWCA of Greater Atlanta, we were focused totally on empowering women and girls through our after school programs, through our STEM programs, through our housing program for women who had children. And we focused on their needs, how to nurture them, how to build their confidence, providing them all of the wraparound services they needed in the housing, understanding with STEM that our girls didn't do as well in science and technology and math, and building a program around that. So I have always been there for girls. I also mentor them on an individual basis, but also many of the students that are female. I reach out to them, they reach out to me. So I am just committed in every walk of my life to make sure that I am there giving back to young girls, mentoring them, being a role model, and really taking responsibility for all that has been given to me. So I kind of do it across the board, not as much with UNCF, but certainly in my past life with the YWCA, the League of Women Voters, and Junior League, that was totally focused on women and girls. But I will always be committed to helping women and girls live their boldest dreams.
The position I have now is very different than, as Justine said, things I've done in the past. But for women's health, it was very important to me. Many years ago, I was in Romania, and I've been in some of the other countries, showing and teaching how to take care of babies with AIDS, and what to do for them, and not just ignore the fact that they're dying. And so in looking at that, I realized that we had to save the mothers, because when you save the mother, you save the child. And we have so many of the mothers that are passing away from AIDS and from even just small cancers in their, the uterine cancers that are preventable. And so that's how I came back to Atlanta. My husband has patented this device. And that has been our focus, is to save the lives of women and young girls, and particularly at the college age, where they go to college and they don't go see a gynecologist, and they're not going to have a pap smear till they're 21 or whatever. So now these young girls are able to, if they're in our trials, they're getting pap smears, and we're finding cervical cancer a lot. We're finding STDs that are very serious. So the purpose of the company is to be able to allow women to have some control of their own health care, to be able to test for something when you need to do so. And that's how we're doing this particular phase of it. I counsel with young women right now. I've got a large group of Hispanic girls, working with them on their self-image, what to do, how to speak, how to present themselves, things they shouldn't do to be proud of themselves. So it's forever, but it's very important for all of us now to remember young women are coming to the forefront, not only in business, but they're not just household. They're not just mothers. They're not just taking care of a family. They're out and about. So we need to teach them and take time for their health. Take care of yourself. You're important. If you don't care for yourself, you can't care for your family. So the kind of concept piece is a wonderful device that will save millions and millions of lives. Particularly right now, it's going to be out of the country. It's going to be, we're currently all through Europe and all throughout Asia. So it will save the lives of women that don't get pap smears. And so that's our purpose.
That's great. Thank you, both of you. For me, my passion right now is Live to Be Girl. I'm soon rebranding to Live to Be Me. But essentially, years ago, I started seeing the impact that social media was having on my own daughters. And my co-founder has a daughter as well. And we were just disturbed. We were disturbed about what we were seeing at the time on Facebook. And then, now today we have Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. And there was not a lot of data back then. So for us, it was a gut feeling that there were some wrong things we were seeing. The way our daughters and their friends were using this new tool and technology. And so we wanted to have a mission to create a space for girls to be able to be supported, to be empowered. And social media isn't going to go away. So for us, it was very important to try to find a solution to create an alternative to these other social media outlets. And today, mental health issues are on the rise. We have a lot of data supporting that now. So things like anxiety, suicide, and body image issues, sharing inappropriate content online, even though you educate your kids not to do it, it still happens. And, what I'm hoping to do with my startup company is create an environment that, has a mentoring ability to any girl that gets on there and shares her issues that she has, and she'll receive valuable feedback and advice from peers and mentors. So my hope is that we are able to get the app out there soon, and that it will make a significant impact on the way our young women use the digital community now. We've all hit the proverbial wall in our careers. What was your wall, and what did you do when you hit that wall? How did you sustain your will? And so, Justine, I'll start with you on that.
Yeah, so I'll talk about there were a couple of jobs. I think Betty may have said there's jobs that I've loved, and I've loved most of them, but there are jobs that I haven't loved. And once I took a job, I was in a job that I loved, but I was recruited, and it looked like it was just idea on paper. And it didn't take me but a day or two to realize I have made a decision that is not in alignment with my spirit, with my skill set. It's just not the right environment for me to be in. And that was very hard for me. I stepped back after a while and said, I've got to go in a different direction. And all of those were tough decisions because I kind of was on a positive trajectory, I thought. And then I realized that I took the time to cry and to scream and to lean on my friends and to run up and down the street and to worry and to stress. And then I picked myself up and said, listen, life allows U-turns. This is not the end of the world. We make decisions that are always not perfect. It's okay. You learn from those. What did you learn? What would you do differently? And then I just picked up the pieces and kept moving, and things worked out just fine. So I'm just thinking about a couple of positions that I thought, oh, my life is ruined, when it really wasn't. I learned a lot from those decisions. And in both instances, it really helped me to the next position that I was in. I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but I'm just thinking about, a time when things just didn't work out the way I had hoped and how I had planned, and what you have to do. But all of that builds character. It makes you stronger. It makes you focus. You learn so much from those things. And so it really wasn't a bad thing as I look back in the rearview mirror. It was just an opportunity to learn and grow.
What about you, Betty?
Uh, Pretty much the same thing, Cindy. I think we all are going to hit a wall somewhere, and sometimes it's more than one wall. And again, I think I took a position in the company that took me away from my real passion. And it was a normal position that I should have had, but it really wasn't one that I felt that I functioned very well in. And so I asked to step back, and I was not allowed to step back. I had to keep going. This is how corporations are. And so it was very hard. I stepped back and asked for a couple of weeks of time to think, and surrounded myself with some of the most wonderful women that I've ever known that, don't agree with me. And they said, this is what you are not doing. This is what you should do. You need to be bold and strong, and you need to make sure you have at least a pathway to go if you choose to leave. And so I came back and I said to the board how much I appreciated these opportunities and how much I loved the job. I don't love the new job. And so I don't feel that I'm a good fit for the company at this point. And so with that, I would hand in my resignation. And I handed it in and thanked them for their time, not knowing what I was going to do or where I was going to go. But I figured wherever it was, I'd be happy. I'd land somewhere. And so I walked out, and within 24 hours, they offered me my old job back with a raise and a better position. So it was a gutty move, and I intended to leave. It was not ever thinking I'd come back, because the soul searching was very, very hard. I was giving up something that I had helped build, and I didn't want to do that. But on the other hand, I also feel like it was like a fish out of water. I didn't belong there. And so I think to say today, you don't feel like you can't speak up. Don't feel like you can't prepare yourself for what you think is doom and gloom. It isn't. It does all work out.
That's great. For me, I think, I'll just describe one of the walls I hit was when I was working with the consulting firm and working a lot, and I was newly married. And I just became very unhappy with what I was doing. I just wasn't happy anymore. And I felt like all the energy and effort that I had put in working over the years had been really beneficial to me. But, it came a point where there was just nothing about my day to day that made me want to jump out of bed and go to work. So fortunately for me, my next move was to start a company with my husband, which was very, very exciting. So I feel that when you hit the wall and you have, these messages telling you that it's not good for you anymore, you should really take action on that. And you should really do a self-examination and figure out what it is that you are passionate about. And is there some way you can marry that passion with what you're doing in your life? Maybe it's not going to fit into your job, but maybe it's the things that you're doing outside your job that, give you the happiness and the passion that you need. But hopefully you're doing that in your job as well. That should be the ultimate goal, I feel. So with that, we are out of time today. And I want to thank you guys, Betty and Justine, so much for being part of this. And I'm honored to be on this panel today with the two of you. you've done such amazing things in your life, and I was thrilled to be able to moderate this as well. But thank you, Leadership Sandy Springs, for inviting us here today. And we thank everybody that's in attendance. And thank you for joining us for our stories.
Mhm.
Jan?
Thank you, Cindy,
Thank you,
Betty,
Jan.
Thank you,
Jan.
everyone, for your telling your stories. We appreciate it. We heard a number of great bits of information and advice. One of the things I think that I will disagree with you on is that I think there are three very intelligent women on this panel. You all said I may not be the smartest, but you outwork everybody. I would tend to disagree. I think you all are brilliant, and I know that you outwork everybody. And so thank you for sharing all of your tips and inspiring a lot of young girls, women, and men to be their very best. So thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We appreciate your coming and spending your lunch hour with us and enjoying hearing from our three incredible panelists today. And we look forward to our next sharing our stories in April. So take care, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.